WWE Money in the Bank 2025 match card and predictions. Who is walking away with the briefcase of a contract for a championship opportunity for up to 1 year? For the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, we've got Stephanie Vaquer, Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Giulia participating for the briefcase. On the men's side, we've got LA Knights, we've got Penta, Andrade, Solo Sikoa, Seth Freakin Rollins, and Grande Americano. There were 2 more matches on the show as well that we will be discussing today. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And the main event of the stream will be the tag team match with Cody Rhodes and main event Jey Uso versus Logan Paul and John Cena. That is the video we'll be discussing here today. And next to me is the one and only Mr. NXT. Great to have you on board as always. Money in the Bank, an exciting time of the year. So I suppose the first question I should ask is your excitement levels of 1 to 10.
I mean, I try not to get too excited with WWE pay-per-views now. Like, don't get me wrong, it's 2 ladder matches. They should be really good. So I'm going to be cautious and say a 7.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the build, I'm not so excited with a sort of a portion of WWE TV right now. I think it's just going through the motions, if I'm honest. However, this show, I think, has the potential to be slightly unpredictable. And I think for that itself, I'm kind of digging and excited. And it's ladder matches. They're always fun, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm going to go with about a 7.5 out of 10, if I'm honest. So, yeah, I think when it comes to Saturday, I think I'm going to be all in.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just like we said previously, like especially with like the previous pay-per-view, that they have a tendency to either to be really heavily story-driven, which this one probably is a bit more story-driven. So I'm not expecting like the IC title match and the tag team match to be the greatest things in the world in ring, but the ladder matches should be really good in case of, like, do you know what I mean? Just having a normal ladder match, they should be crazy. There should be loads of really good high spots, and they should just be really fun and entertaining.
Absolutely, indeed. What match are you most looking forward to then, I guess, of the Money in the Bank ladder matches?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to have to say the men's one just because... No, do you know what? Actually, no, I think I'm actually going to say the women's one because I think the women's has more possible winners, whereas I think the men, there's kind of like maybe 3 or 4 that are guaranteed to wear it, whereas the women, I think they've all got a good shot for winning the thing.
Yeah, women's all the way, 100%. I mean, the women's division's got an injection of new life into it with Giulia, Roxanne Perez, Stephanie Vaquer, and they all feel like big-time players already that can make a difference in the division as well. And you've got the established Rhea Ripley there. Naomi's gimmick is really fun as well. And obviously, you know, Alexa Bliss is in the mix as well, someone that's not won a women's championship for, well, since 2018. In fact, the last time she won a women's championship, she'd won Money in the Bank on the same evening earlier that night. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to play out. But we want everyone to let us know their predictions in the comments below right now. And yeah, get involved with the show. Hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well. Millennial Noob is in the house. Nice and early, says the women's Money in the Bank. It's full of star power. It certainly is indeed. And that's what's so exciting about it. NXT, just to say quickly, only 4 matches on the show. Do we think we get a late edition of a 5th match, or do we think that maybe we'll get the cash in?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get an extra match added. If anything, I think we was discussing this the other day. Most likely is going to be something to do with the SmackDown Tag Team division, just because it's the only thing of any relevancy that either like isn't already involved in some format. Like the world titles are both involved in the tag team match, or nothing else has really had is even probably had a build to it. Like IC title isn't going to be on the line because Dom's not involved in anything. US title is not on the line. Like, I don't know, maybe US is probably maybe an outside shot, but like the women's tag team titles aren't going to be on the line. The only thing I can possibly think of is the SmackDown tag team titles.
Absolutely. Noob wants a women's tag title match, but the question is who against? That's the issue right now. Liv Morgan's been away for a period. She's come back and she's been focused on the singles division. But one thing I will say, Noob, when you mentioned women's tag team match, Liv obviously had something going with Kyrie and obviously Io Sky. Potentially Oscar return in the very near future. Potentially 6-woman tag team match maybe if Liv, Raquel and Roxanne can get on the same page, because that seems to be the story right now of the Roxanne dynamic in the Judgment Day with Finn Balor as well. If Liv can get on board with that, you could definitely see a 6-woman tag team match there with Oscar returning.
Yeah, I mean, especially in terms of story narrative, that would probably help more towards whatever split they may be doing with the Judgment Day and whatever sort of feud they're trying to build between Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan, or possibly like, I don't know, almost tell a story of how Liv no longer trusts Raquel and almost I don't know, maybe takes the tag team title off of Raquel and gives it to Roxanne out of spite. Do you know what I mean?
That could be quite interesting. That'd be a unique twist. I could just imagine Finn Balor being like, "Come on, you need to trust her. You see, she helped me win matches. You actually didn't want the help, and now look what happened to you. You're losing matches. So give her a chance." And then obviously they have the match, they lose, and it just causes more dissension because the Judgment Day never get on. It's just part of the running theme in WWE, no matter what members are involved. Hey, look, we're nearly 6 minutes into the stream. Let's talk about a match, shall we? And tell you what, we spoke about Roxanne Perez. We said women's Money in the Bank ladder match is the one we're most looking forward to. So let's start there, shall we? Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Then who is winning the contract? Look at that lineup there. We've got Rhea Ripley, we've got Giulia, Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss, Stephanie Vaquer, and Naomi. What's a lineup, I think, is what we have to say with that one there. I'm going to get your first initial thoughts. There's something I want to do with both Money in the Bank ladder matches here, and it's something that will be unique. I'm going to take all of them in one little segment and predict if they win the briefcase, what will happen with them before we go to a final prediction. First, I want to get your thoughts of this ladder match, where your head is leaning towards, maybe favorites, not favorites.
I mean, look, like I said, this one is out and out. Anyone could win this one. Stephanie Vaquer is the brand new wrestler on the main roster. A Money in the Bank win would do bits for her. Giulia obviously has just come up and obviously is looking for some sort of story in line and going forward. Same with Roxanne Perez again. Could almost be used as a thing to drive a wedge between Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, and again the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley obviously is Rhea Ripley, so there's really no there's no work clues, no work to do there involved with what Rhea Ripley will do with it. And same with Naomi. I think Naomi's going to have a big year this year, and that could be a really good sort of incentive for her to go on and have a really good year.
Absolutely. I can see an argument for every single one of these to win.
Even Bliss as well. I'd even mention Bliss, and Bliss as well. They've all got like I said, I think this is the best lineup we've ever had for a women's Money in the Bank briefcase in terms of possibly quality and for the fact that anyone could win that.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, then let's dive into where my mind goes then if everyone here wins Money in the Bank. So I'll start with Stephanie Vaquer. I think she'll try to cash in at Evolution. I think it'll be her versus Io Sky if that happens. If Rhea Ripley wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, I think she'll do the same thing. She would cash in at Evolution, cash in ahead of time. And I'll predict this. If Rhea wins it, I think she's the first person that has a failed cash in because she's not winning the big matches currently in 2025. For Giulia, I think she would cash in on the Women's United States Championship. Don't hate me, but WWE is saying all champions, all championships, and I think that that's where she would go. I think same for Roxanne Perez, she would go for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. When it comes to Naomi, I think she would cash in on a Tiffany Stratton Bianca Belair Women's Championship 100%. Match, stopping Bianca Belair getting there. And well, last but not least, if we get who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
Alexa
Damn it,
Bliss.
I'll ruin this segment.
Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss. There we go. If Alexa Bliss was to win and she would cash in and be the one I think would really cash in on a vulnerable women's champion, I think Tiffany Stratton would be the victim for it. However, I would like to see her fail that cash in as well.
I think out of all of them, though, Bliss is probably the most likely to hold it the longest before cashing it in. I don't want none of this on the same night cashing crap. Like, not very likely because the only thing that's on the line is the IC title. I think in terms of story-wise, I think Bliss is the only one that could possibly hold that briefcase and, like I said, just hold it with no reason to cash it in at the minute. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or not, I mean, like with Naomi, like you said, as soon as they put Belair and Tiffany Stratton into a match, there's an opportunity there for her to cash it in, whereas Bliss doesn't really kind of have any story at the minute, and if anything, it's just be a case of she just keep hold of it for the time being until the right moment of, like, just so happens to fall upon her where she can use it.
The thing that I would say right now with Alexa Bliss is that she has a feud seemingly starting with Charlotte Flair, And you would imagine that Charlotte Flair would like to stop her from cashing in successfully. So that's what I imagine possibly would happen. But I agree with you. Bliss feels like she would be someone that could hold that title, of that briefcase, let's say, for the longest of the 6 competitors. But it's fascinating. It's interesting. It's money in the bank. And like I said, there's an argument for all 6 women. But we're going to have to start cancelling some people out because, look, my early prediction before anyone's ever announced for Money in the Bank was Roxanne Perez. But I'm starting to feel a bit like that, as you said on recent episodes and discussions we've had, there's going to be the Liv Morgan factor. I think she's going to be cancelled out here because she's sort of now got this Judgment Day stuff going on. I don't see her winning at this particular time.
As much as I'd love to see her do it, I think she's probably at the running. If anything, I would put her 5th. Like, if I was to put them in an order of most likely to least likely, I think she comes in at number 5 for me, Roxanne Perez, just in terms of everything that's going on at the minute and what the briefcase could actually do for them. I think she's, like I said, probably the second to least likely to win this at the minute.
Who's least likely, in your opinion, to win it?
I think at the minute it's got to be Giulia, just because Giulia hasn't really had any screen time at the minute. And I think, yeah, sure, given the briefcase might be something, but I'm sorry, I still think it's stupid if you win this briefcase and you cash it in on anything other than a world title. And if the idea is that Giulia is someone that wins this and then cashes it in on the United States Championship, I think it's a waste of the opportunity. Like, logically, there's no reason why you shouldn't cash this in on anything other than a world title. Do you know what I mean? And I know that they bang on about every title's up for grabs. Look, why didn't Otis cash in years ago for the tag team titles when he won it? Do you know what I mean? It's one of them stupid things that they always try and emphasize that I just really don't like about the idea of them having the back briefcase.
I think it's because Triple H is booking now, and I think he's trying to make it expand it a bit differently and do things that are a bit different to Vince McMahon days. And allegedly, he doesn't like Money in the Bank. Allegedly, I don't know how true that is, but the prop itself of the briefcase. So it's interesting to see if there's any truth or false to that, because I mean, superstars so far under his era have had their own marketing briefcases that have sold pretty well on WWE Shop. Damien Priest, Tiffany Stratton. So that argument would say that actually he's kept it going. But then, have we always built ourselves the next star with the briefcase and stories around the briefcase? Maybe not. We've had also the cash-ins of like Austin Theory. People didn't like Drew McIntyre's either last year. So there are arguments for and against whether that alleged statement is true or false. But the fact and the idea of perhaps going for all titles in WWE just means everybody's got to watch their back. But I agree with you. I prefer that someone goes for a world title because, hey, if you've got a choice of any title, why wouldn't you go for the top title? That's your opportunity. It's your ticket, your meal. It's like that is also your meal ticket to a WrestleMania Championship match as well. You don't have to cash it in before. You don't have to wait till after. But hey, it's part of the game. So
logic just doesn't make sense that you should cash in on anything other than a world title.
Certainly not. But I'm going to agree with you, Giulia, the least likely, because I think she can have that United States Championship match anyway. She's already stared down Zelina Vega backstage. And to be honest, I have a feeling that she is someone that's just going to win the title anyway. So I'm not too fussed about that. Roxanne, like you say, I think the Liv Morgan factor cancels that out. I don't see Charlotte Flair costing Alexa Bliss, but I don't know. I don't see Bliss winning this.
No, unfortunately, like I said, I think that's why I think like if she wins it, she goes on to hold it till next year earliest, and I think that's why I put her down to like number 4, just because she has no kind of real story direction at the minute. And I think again, that's it. I can't see a reason why they put it on her. Don't get me wrong, crowd I think would pop massively for it, and obviously because the last time she won this briefcase, she cashed it in on the same night. And again, I don't want it to be on the IC title. I just think it's a waste. And yeah, I just think it's lack of story at the minute that kind of rules Alexa Bliss out for me.
Certainly, I understand that indeed. I've got Stephanie Vaquer as 3rd, purely because of the fact that the presentation of Stephanie, she's a star. She has been a star in NXT. So the moment she's walked in WWE and been in NXT, she was not supposed to be the one that was supposed to be the poster of NXT straight away, but she brushed everybody else to the side. And
something happened.
Yeah, literally something happened, and everybody is on the Stephanie Vaquer train. And I would not be surprised if she's in a women's championship match of WrestleMania next year already, or a Royal Rumble winner. I just think the fact she's just debuted, it does feel a bit early to win Money in the Bank. You've literally debuted the Monday before Money in the Bank.
Yeah, but then I suppose, look, I've always turned around. Well, you've heard me waffle on about this a couple of times. If you want to make a huge star of an instant debut, have someone debut at the Rumble and win it, and know that they're getting a world title match at WrestleMania. And how easy is it to make about, like, next year, for example, if Obafemi came into the Rumble, that was his main roster debut, he wins the Rumble and he goes on to face Gunther at WrestleMania for a World Heavyweight Championship and he wins. How do you not automatically just like go 120 miles per hour with Obafemi as this big top star? Because it'd be a great way to make a name. And look, like you said, Stephanie Vaquer has somehow just walked into NXT and just become this fan favorite that everyone loves. Like, sure, Booker T's helped her get over slightly with her Devil's Kisses, but she is just a solid wrestler. She has a great presentation. She has quality ring entrance music, which again, I know, like, I sit there and bang on about this, but it's a part of your character. And you look at all these generic entrances that Def Rebel love to pump out. When it comes to Royal Rumble season, I don't know who half of them are, but as soon as when the Rumble happened this year and Stephanie Vaquer came out, I was like, oh my God, I know who this is, and I popped hard for it. So she's got everything down to a T. But again, like you said, it's been a week since she's debuted, and I would teeter on her being third, maybe second on the list, but third is probably the safest bet.
So that leaves us both thinking Naomi or Rhea Ripley. So it's crunch time. Where's your money at?
I'm going to go with Naomi. I think that Rhea Ripley has never really needed a Money in the Bank briefcase. The briefcase, obviously, we always say it, is a better heel prop than it is a face prop. So Rhea doesn't need, like, it's not going to do anything for Rhea in terms of carrying the briefcase around. Whereas Naomi, I know there's obviously been the leaks of a Money in the Bank briefcase with like all her caution tape all over it. But I think with the character work that she's been doing the last couple of months and this heel persona that she's trying to get over, you then include the story of Jade and Bianca, and then you include Tiffany Stratton in with that world title. There is some magic to be made over the next 6 to 12 months with that briefcase on Naomi.
100% agree. I've not seen that briefcase, by the way. If that's fan,
it's literally, it's like I think it's fan made. I think people tried to pass it off as like a prop design for WWE, but it generally just is a briefcase with like black and yellow caution tape all over it. And I think that's what people may be leading towards why they think Naomi gets it. But like I said, aside from that, I think Naomi's going to have a great year. And the heel character work she's been doing, the promos she's been cutting, that briefcase as well. And she's like, hopefully uses it as a psychological torture device to absolutely torment whoever the champion is, whether it be Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, whatever. There is a group of 4 ladies there that are going to be tied in together for the next year unless they get separated in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with everything you've said there, purely because of the fact that Naomi, since WrestleMania losing Jade Cargill, has declared herself wanting to be in the women's championship picture. And so far, she's been in and around a lot of women's championship matches. But if she can win the briefcase, she actually has purpose of being there even further. You would imagine now Bianca is back. They're still flirting with that idea and that relationship. Bianca went for a women's championship at WrestleMania. The fact that she could do so here. Is that all? I like that. I like that. To be honest,
how cool does that look?
That does look pretty cool. I saw more like the tape going all around, like diagonally with caution everywhere. But no, I like the way they've presented that. That's pretty fun. But yeah, I think that it would be good for her because when
it's a fan made item, by the way. Sorry, I've just found it on Twitter.
Oh, there you go. Well, I assumed it would be fan made. But yeah, ultimately, I just think the fact that she's been in and around there, like you've mentioned, the idea that Jade wants to get in the women's title picture as well, that there is stuff that you can do there. Eventually, they get the triple threat with Naomi, Bianca, and Jade, and probably singles matches as well. But Naomi's character work just has been brilliant, and I think she just deserves a reward for everything she's put in. And yeah, she's completely reinvented herself, and she's become relevant. I would say that she, arguably 6 months ago, wasn't relevant. You know, when she's walking into War Games with a birthday hat on, I think everyone was kind of going, what are you doing? So now 6 months later, we were all going like, yeah, we're liking what we're seeing. So I think it's time for that reward.
I would also argue that she's also a top heel on SmackDown at the minute for the women's division. Like Charlotte is just Charlotte, but I think Naomi is like, well, no, I wouldn't say she is top heel. I would say she's on the precipice of being top heel for the women's division on SmackDown.
Especially as Nia Jax now has fallen down the pecking order as well, losing to Tiffany Stratton. You need that natural next progression. So it seems to connect. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rhea do it and just naturally go, I'm going to cash in and get my title back, and then possibly fail. But I think Naomi is the one that I will stick my neck out and go with.
I think on the positive side is no matter who wins this briefcase, I'll be content with. Like, no matter who wins it, whether it's Giulia, Bliss, whatever. I know I've sat there and tier ranked them, and who I think is most likely is. I think regardless, whoever wins that, I'd be content with anyway. And I think that's how you know you're going to have a good Money in the Bank ladder match, is when you know every single person that could win it will do good with the briefcase.
Completely agree. I would be very happy as well. And I think it's nice to see so much fresh blood in this ladder match. Well, it's very exciting as a prospect because you just know 6 quality performers going to be involved in that. And like I say, with the fresh blood as well coming from NXT, it just, I get the vibes of how I felt in 2015 with the women's division when we got Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky all at the same time. It just feels like this is the cusp of seeing the future of the WWE women's division, how bright it's going to be with these women being a part of it. So yeah, very excited to see where it's going to lead to.
Definitely.
Well,
Definitely.
we give our predictions there for that then. So let's get into some comments. I know Noob has been quite active in the comments so far. We've got quite a lot of viewers, but not so much comments so far. So feel free to share your feelings as well in the comment section. If you're enjoying the video as well, hit the like button as well. Noob actually thinks we might get a found cash in from whoever wins Money in the Bank this year. And also says that I believe a story for Bliss is with Charlotte Flair, so don't know her end game with Charlotte. I believe it could be a Firefly Funhouse style match. I mean, that would be interesting to see happen because obviously we can't get those any other way at the moment, but certainly a lot of tribute is being done for Bray with the Bliss character as well. Obviously, the Friends for Life with the jacket where it's got the Fiend kind of vibe of it. So she could be someone that could bring that sort of gimmick match back in, I suppose.
Yeah, it'd be a case of how they do it, like, because obviously it'd be more of a cinematic type match, I would believe. I mean, they could do this on TV easily. On a premium live event, I'm not too sure. Maybe if it was maybe middle of the card, they could possibly do it. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it. But look, I'm not against it. I think Pandemic Era and those cinematic matches were one of the most refreshing things that wrestling's ever had, and it's a shame that we can't really get more of them. And I know NXT did them at Halloween Havoc a couple of years in a row when Dexter Lumis did like a what was it? Is like a something like some sort of funhouse kind of match with Cameron Grimes one year, and that was almost like half cinematic, half in ring action. So there is a way to do it. It's just whether they do it or not is a different question.
Absolutely. And I've got to say very quickly, I love the idea of Charlotte Flair being a suggestion for that type of match because John Cena went through the cycle of his career, the good sides, the bad sides, NWO. Charlotte Flair would be perfect for that sort of thing because she's come in, Ric Flair's daughter, you know, all the woos, all the comparisons, then winning the 14 world championships and also going through the run of trying to get to the top, then being a face, staying at the top, then all this sort of evil sides and all the things that people claim Charlotte Flair is with ego, backstage politicking, going into business for herself. They can make a lot of fun with that as a cinematic match.
Even like the little details, like how she used to just go by Charlotte because she tried to get herself over without her dad's name, and then all of a sudden she turns and becomes Charlotte Flair, and like they change her whole persona and presentation. That's I think a massive crucial point where, like, if you're going to do something like a Firefly Funhouse, that's easily one big psychological point to sort of use against Charlotte is, you said you didn't want to use your dad's name, but here you are, Charlotte Flair. Do you know what I mean? And just emphasize it that you were supposed to get yourself over. What's the matter? Couldn't you get yourself over? Did you need daddy's help to get yourself over? It'd be fantastic, man.
Noob, I love that idea. Thank you for sharing that with us. Paul here says, I'm disappointed CM Punk did not qualify for Money in the Bank. Chad Gable qualified instead. I'm not sure he did.
He wasn't in the match. Look, just because he was wearing Chad Gable's boots, we've already seen it, man. Apparently, whoever he flies with lost his boots, so he borrowed Chad's. He stretched them out as well, apparently. Look, it's not like we haven't heard of wrestlers borrowing other wrestlers' wrestling gear before. Rhea Ripley has famously borrowed Damian Priest's wrestling gear before because her stuff got lost. It's not the first, won't be the last time we ever see a wrestler lose some of their wrestling gear. But yeah, it was El Grande Americano. I don't know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. But like I say, what a charitable guy Chad Gable is, lending his boots. Let's stand
The
up
best.
individual. Absolutely. And we got BFC and House of Smith, Penta or Seth will win Money in the Bank for the men, and for the women, Alexa will win. Thank you for sharing your predictions. Hope you enjoyed the video so far. We'll get onto the men's match very shortly, because next we're going to dive into the women's Intercontinental Championship match with Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. A little bit of added spice this time round for the stipulation for these two. It's another singles match after the Backlash one. However, this time, if Becky Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. However, if Becky wins the title, Lyra has to raise Becky's hand, just the way Becky did for Lyra in NXT, getting her over. And let's be honest here, Becky has said, well, it's a lose-lose for Lyra here in this way. Either she loses her title, what matters the most, and has to raise Becky's hand, or she actually is going to lose relevancy anyway, because she's going to lose the most important thing that ever happened to her that made her people talk about her. That is Becky Lynch. Very good promo work from Becky, I've got to say. I've not always been the biggest fan since this current run of turning heel, but the last couple of weeks, Becky has upped the game on the promo side of things. I've really enjoyed this rivalry. I'm not going to lie.
She's almost slowed down her pace when it comes to being a heel promo, because I remember before it always used to be at like 400 miles an hour whenever she did a heel promo. But she's like, this week I thought was great, the way she was leaning against the top rope while talking to Lyra, and almost like kind of trying to find a new style of presenting herself as a heel. And yeah, I found it a lot better this time around than she has been previously. And yeah, man, look, it's a shame that this one's kind of a bit obvious because of, the stipulation that they've put in that, if Lyra wins, Becky can never challenge again and blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, like this possibly still could go either way, the way that WWE book it at the minute. And like, I still think there's something with Bayley that's going to happen with these two as well. And I think they need to have a vastly better match than they did last time out, because the last one, the ending was really weird. And compared to the rest of the card, it was kind of like the sore thumb on the show. So ideally, these two need to firstly have a really good match, which look, they're capable of doing it. They have history, they have chemistry, so they should be able to knock it out of the park. In terms of result, though, look, I personally think that Becky's going to win this. The only reason I think Becky doesn't win this is if Bayley comes out and this ends in a screw finish, and I don't really want that, just because, like I said, how the last one sort of ended. So, I mean, I'm going to go with Becky winning it, but I said it should be a good match. And plus, it gives Lyra the opportunity to chase it and, like I said, bring Bayley into this story at some point and get Bayley versus Becky for the IC title, because, again, that just adds to that lineage then when you've got two of the biggest women's stars over the last sort of 10 years fighting for that Intercontinental Championship in its first year of being around.
Absolutely. Obviously, Evolution 2 is on the horizon. That's what's going to be coming for us on July, I want to say the 12th or the 13th. I want to say 13th. Like Sunday, I believe. Bayley will be back in time for that. The question is, does she come back here and cost Becky Lynch the match here at Money in the Bank, which leads to Becky versus Bayley? Or does Becky win here, and then afterwards, in the meantime, Bayley make a return, and there's almost a bit of a squabble with the idea of perhaps a triple threat match, because Bayley has the legit reason to be upset with Lyra as well, because Lyra kind of moved on quite quickly without Bayley.
Yeah, and I think like I said, because we don't even think we've got any bits on. Like, apart from, did Becky actually admit it was her that took Bayley out for the tag team match?
She did.
So yeah, there is. Yeah, so there is obviously that piece of story that needs to be in it, and I think the only way that this story kind of works going forward is if Becky picks it up. So, like I said, it'll all work. I'm sure it'll work out in the end. Like, I think just most importantly, they need to have a really good match, because like I said, I think that's what really did, like, sort of let it down last time. So get over the match first, and I'm sure the story will work itself out.
Absolutely, indeed. Look, I kind of feel the same as you. I think this is Becky's to win. And my reasoning to feel that Becky's going to win it is one thing that Becky has said, Lyra's got emotional. And I think when you get emotional, you sometimes make a rash decision. And I think that that's when it can come to be your downfall. I can only see, unless Bailey returns, I think Becky Lynch also is walking away with the women's IC title. And the thing is, I really wanted to be opposite to you on this. But yeah, it's one of those things, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I was just having a quick look at the original Evolution pay-per-view as well, because I wanted to see, because Bailey has this habit of like missing key pay-per-views, and I was just seeing if she was in it, but she was in a 6-women tag match with Sasha and Natalia versus the Riot Squad. So like it's just something they'd throw in there like as a bit of a story narrative, that if she'd missed the first one, it was her opportunity to sort of make a name for herself at the second one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we've both gone for Becky Lynch. Let's see what our comment section has got to say. Thank you, Sid, by the way. Type in chat rate. Absolutely. Let's get that chat rate up and we can keep the interest and get viewers joining us here today. BFC says Becky Lynch will win. So it's another pick for Becky Lynch there. Roy doesn't want to talk about Ric Flair. Apparently said some disrespectful stuff about JR about cancer. That's horrible if that is the case.
Yeah, basically, he tweeted out some stuff. It was meant to be in sort of kayfabe terms, and it just wasn't perceived. Well, this is according to Ric Flair. It was meant to be in like a kayfabe sort of term, and no one in the world found it funny in terms of kayfabe, and just kind of called him a dick for it. So.
There you go. Well, we won't be talking about Ric Flair. We name dropped him in the Charlotte Flair segment we talked about with a Firefly Funhouse match, but that's about as far as you're going to get mentioned from this video, especially as it's Money in the Bank. Lyra Valkyria retaining the women's IC title says Noob would not be against it. Again, I wouldn't complain with either result. I think that's another good thing when it comes to WWE's booking at this particular moment. Sid wants to know our picks for Money in the Bank. Well, I can tell you what, Sid, with the women's, we have picked Naomi. We have not given our pick yet for the men's, but we'll be doing so in the next match. So do stick around. If you're enjoying the video, hit that like button. But just before we do, Sid asks also, what is our opinion on R-Truth and Carlito leaving WWE?
Yeah, like I said, sucks, man. But we will have loads of fond memories of both of them. R-Truth will be fine. Like, if he's going to pop up in either TNA or even AEW, like, I reckon that guy is going to have a stellar run on the indies now. Carlito, look, the guy is still built like a Greek Adonis. He's still jacked as anything. If he could get on a TNA, I think he'd do bits on a TNA.
Do you know what? I think both still have got something to give, whatever they decide to do. But I would not be surprised to see R-Truth make a return at some point to WWE. Honestly, what would be brilliant is if he was to come back and they turn this into a storyline. That'd be the best thing WWE could do right now. And the fact is,
the Drake Maverick one.
Yeah, it's like, you don't work here anymore. Yeah, but I do. Isn't this like Wednesday night SmackDown or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, just play along with it. Each and every week he comes back and like just, but Truth, you've been fired. What are you doing here? Like, and he's like, maybe I bought a ticket or something stupid or whatever that Truth will do just to get himself being around every week in comedic ways. And all of a sudden he can then, like you say, you could do perhaps maybe a Heath Slater and win a contract and stay in WWE, because everyone's calling for Truth to come back. I did like CM Punk's comment after Raw went off air. How dare you chant for someone who doesn't work here? Might have took a few people a second, but I tell you what, I thought it was very clever indeed. But the thing is, with both of these guys, and also Sarah Logan as well, you don't wish anyone to not have work. I think it's a better way that WWE doesn't renew contracts rather than firing people in the middle of contracts. But it's a shame. And the thing is, R-Truth, like we say, is a national treasure. Let's be honest with the stuff he's done. 24/7 championship, Little Jimmy, making Brock Lesnar laugh, Ron Cena, you just name it. There's so many great R-Truth moments. Carlito in the last run. Look, I'd be more interested in some of his one-liners than his matches, but he's been a lot of fun to watch as well in the Judgment Day.
What's the pay-per-view where him and The Miz locked themselves in Hell in a Cell at the end of the show and everyone's after him?
Hell in a Cell,
SummerSlam?
2011.
Oh, right. Yeah, dude, like that, I was so, like, that I thought was one of the best things R-Truth has ever done with The Miz. Like, the heel persona those two were giving off, and like I said, they were arrested and they were dragged out of Hell in a Cell. Just one of the best things they've done. I was like, look, man, I could really see these two getting over massively, and I think I think that went wrong because I think R-Truth failed a wellness violation policy or something and had to be released, and it kind of killed the momentum of it. But that back then in 2011, I thought was some great work. I was still like a bit of a mark for it, and I was like, "Oh, you guys suck! I don't want you to do this. Why are you doing it?"
It was a good story on the time. They actually got themselves a match at Survivor Series against John Cena and The Rock, if those remember quite rightly. That Rock hadn't wrestled for a long time at that point in WWE. Yeah. And we're saying reports saying more releases coming soon. I mean, define
right now,
soon will be. Let's hope it doesn't.
At least it's like the end of their contract, and it's not a case of that they're firing them 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years before their contract's due to be up. And I think like that. It's the fairest way to say goodbye to anyone. You can't really hold it against them. They're not being, like I said, they're not. Truth, yes, okay, he's in a goofball spot every week, but for the amount of money he's probably getting paid, you have to sit there and justify it. And like I said with Sarah Logan and Carmella, actually, it's like you're probably on a really good wage, but if they're not paying you, if you're not on TV, what are you doing? What are you doing to increase the company's value if you're just sitting in catering all day? Not that it's, like I said, it's your fault, but they're not going to pay you for doing nothing, so why should they renew your contract? And like I said, as long as they didn't release them like early and 6 months, a year before they were due, and just said to them, look, we're not going to renew it. That's a fair enough one. I mean, I think the thing for me was I was hoping they'd write Carlito off somehow, but he wasn't even on Raw this week.
Yeah, his apple had been eaten and the cork was left in the background behind the Judgment Day segment. Which
I didn't see that. That was class. Yeah. I wish I'd seen that.
It is class, but at the same time, I kind of wish they'd done something for him to be written off and then it'd be done the week after. But it's what it is. And
I
also
reckon Dom should start doing that.
Yeah, the PlayStation wasn't on either in Clubhouse, so
man. Yeah, I reckon Dom should start eating an apple now out of respect, out of tribute to Carlito.
That would be quite cool. Did you like the Carlito? Spit in the face of people who don't want to be caught. Of course, it's classic. Loved it.
Yeah, man, of course. Unhygienic, like spitting in someone's face with an apple. But hey, cool as hell, man. Like, how often do you see someone spit its apple in someone's face? I liked it.
It was ruthless aggression. Of course, we loved it back in the day. It was good fun indeed. Let's move on.
The Triple H, and he's got the bits of apple in his long blonde hair. It's great.
Good times. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. As you can see, that we've got LA Knight. Yeah, we've got PENTA, we've got Andrade, Solo Sikoa, Seth Freakin Rollins, and El Grande Americano going to be taking part in Money in the Bank. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm happy to go through everyone once again of what they'll do if they win Money in the Bank. But first off, and Steve, I want to get your thoughts. And if there's anything special you want to get out there first, feel free to do so.
This one is just, I think, like a little, like there's 2, possibly 3 names that I reckon could win this one. I think some of these guys are purely in there for spots, which is a shame. I mean, I could be wrong. Anyone can win it, but it feels like typical booking, like how Kofi Kingston used to be in the Rumble every year kind of thing, because he'd always have a great way of escaping an elimination. But yeah, I think that could be ultimately what some of these guys are in for. But yeah, there is at least, I'd say 2, possibly 3 winners out of this lot.
Who's your current 2 or 3 winners out of this lot?
So Seth Rollins obviously has to be like kind of the number 1 pick because he is Seth Rollins. He is like one of the biggest stars in the company. El Grande Americano, he's number 2 for me. I think that the guy's got a great opportunity of winning this. And the 3rd is LA Knight. And I unfortunately put him as like the kind of maybe possibly one. Whereas I think El Grande and Seth are like those 2 I can really see winning this. LA Knight is, I think, possibly the long shot of the 3.
Absolutely. I mean, me and you have fought this in different ways and said it previously in different ways, but I think it's only fair as you suggested with Money in the Bank, you should say it first. What would happen if El Grande Americano won Money in the Bank? Where would he cash in on?
I personally think that guy cashes in. Obviously not this weekend because Worlds Collide is going on ahead of Money in the Bank, but in the future, I would see El Grande Americano cashing in on the AAA Mega Championship and becoming AAA champion. And I think that it would be something unique that's never been done before with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And Like, I think it'd be a unique way to do it. And knowing WWE, it would give them an excuse to rebrand not rebrand, but maybe have a new design for the AAA Championship as well.
Absolutely. You imagine with El Grande Americano's face in the middle of it as well.
Especially if,
So
like I said, if Chad Gable can't beat Vikingo this week, like these two obviously being best buds, El Grande and Chad Gable, do you know what I mean? If he wins it, he wants probably justice for Chad Gable, and we'll go after Vikingo with that contract.
Well, I'm going to say now, I don't think El Grande Americano wins Money in the Bank, but what I will say is that yes, Vikingo versus Gable is being done because El Grande Americano is going to win that AAA Mega Championship regardless later this year. He's going to be the face at one point of AAA. Talk about a slap in the face of the promotion that WWE just bought. We put El Grande Americano as the guy. But I tell you what, he's a top luchador, rising star as well, and he's going to show himself.
He's been blacklisted for years. The only embarrassment is that AAA never did it sooner.
Yes. Let's go through it then. 6 superstars. What will they do if they win Money in the Bank for the men? So obviously, El Grande Americano, we mentioned there, would cash in AAA Mega Championship on Vikingo. I think Andrade would do the same thing because Andrade, I don't see a spot for him in WWE at all doing such a thing. Seth freaking Rollins, of course, will go for the championship from Jey Uso. I would see him trying to cash in on the same night on Money in the Bank with Jey and John Cena being in that tag team match. However, I do think more likely Seth would cash in on the Raw afterwards after Jey Uso versus Gunther. With Solo Sikoa, I think he's going to cash in on one Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. That's been brewing. I think with the help of JC Mateo, I think he could get the job done. If Penta was to do so, I think he would go for the IC title personally, but I would like to see him go for a World Heavyweight title as well. And LA Knight, I do think he would go for a World Heavyweight title as well. But I'm with you. I think that there is a couple of contenders for this Money in the Bank. I think for sure Penta and Andrade are there for the spots. I don't think they're there to win it. I think they're there for the buzz, and that's it. A Grande Americano, I think it would be a lot of fun. I don't see it happening, but I think it's extremely creative and it would be a really good way to go about it. My fear is that Solo Sikoa is going to win this match, and I think nobody wants that. And I think if WWE realizes nobody wants that, they can do a United States title program with Solo and Jacob Fatu without needing to include Money in the Bank. And if Solo has that, why wouldn't he go for the top title? It just would not make any sense at this point. So for me, I'm going to rule him out. Seth freaking Rollins was my prediction before anyone was announced for Money in the Bank. He's in this match. However, it's him or LA Knight for me at this point. One thing I've noticed on the build between now and Money in the Bank is that Seth Rollins and his group of Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker have been costing people spots in Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn being one of them, CM Punk being the other. Surely a receipt is coming. Neither man is booked for Money in the Bank. I have a feeling that Seth Rollins is going to be cost Money in the Bank because he's done that to those other guys. A receipt is coming back. Therefore, third time is the charm. I'm predicting LA Knight is going to win Money in the Bank, and he can finally start moving towards the top titles in WWE.
I love the sound of it. My only problem is I think if he wins it, he's a failed cash in inbound because he's the kind of guy that would cash in on John Cena ahead of time, and these two would have a match and he'd ultimately lose. And I think that's my biggest fear. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a test for LA Knight, and maybe it's to kind of see how he can hang with the big boys in the main event scene. And look, if you've been watching LA Knight when he was Eli Drake in TNA, you know this guy can hang with the big boys. He can cut promos just as good as anyone else of the big boys. I would love to see it. Honestly, my long shot is the one I'm hoping for the most. I really do want LA Knight to win this. I think Seth Rollins is the too easy prediction, which almost makes me feel like they will do it with Seth just because, look, a lot of people expect it. But I'm the same as you. I think that there's people out there that will cancel him out from winning this briefcase. And like I said, as much as I'd love to see El Grande win this, because look, Chad Gable's needed a massive push for ages. You're right. He doesn't need the briefcase to win that mega championship, which he probably ultimately will do. I want to talk Chad Gable. He's not even in the match. I'm talking about Grande, sorry. Grande Americano. He's obviously, I was going to say, too much confusion here. Yeah, he's just obviously he's bound to be part of that AAA Mega Championship. He's going to get an opportunity. I'm sure he'll win it because they are obviously going to want to try and build that AAA brand. So yeah, again, it's a guy that just doesn't need the briefcase. And yeah, I mean, I really should say Seth, but I'm gonna say LA Knight as well, just because he's the guy I want to most win it. And I think that's probably the safest way it comes to when trying to predict this. Really, like instead of being predictable and going with Seth, and I'm not against Penta or Andrade winning it, but like you said, I think Andrade just doesn't have any narrative going at the minute. So what's the point? Solo Sikoa, I think ever since they brought Jacob Fatu in, his value's just gone and skyrocket and just plummeted, and just like he's almost like not the. He's almost like the favorite son that's been replaced by the adopted son. Do you know what I mean? Just like no one's really interested in it at the minute, and like ever since they lost the Bloodline match, no one's really cared about the Bloodline. So no one honestly putting the briefcase on. Hey, it might be a good thing for him, but I just can't see it happening. But I'm the same as you. I'm going to go with LA Knight winning this because I think it is time. It's been 3 years. The last 3 years, we've all turned around and said, LA Knight to win Money in the Bank. LA Knight to win Money in the Bank. I think third time is the charm, and he wins as well.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you mentioned John Cena. Said going for a world title. You said that you could see him going for John Cena and failing the cash in. I could see that as well. However, do you know what I'd like to see instead if it happens and LA Knight could win the title? If Cody can't get the job done, John Cena gets to that final date. He looks like he's leaving with that title. Wow. And just before he does, LA Knight cashes that bad boy in and wins the title because I feel LA Knight would be over like Rover.
That's a big, but that is not only like, that's not just a big moment for LA Knight. That's just a lot of trust and faith from the company. Like, look, you're going to beat John Cena. You're going to end his 17th reign as world champion. We're going to put this title on you. I can't, especially with Mania next year. And like I know, like predictions are predictions, but I still think Seth is facing CM Punk for a title next year, and it's what you do with that other one. And there's got to be like, who just fantasy book it, like amuse me here. If LA Knight wins this title against John Cena, who does he out of interest fight at WrestleMania next year?
Does he still hold the title WrestleMania next year? But I suppose if he beats John Cena, he should be someone that's holding that title next year. So your guess is as good as mine looking at that roster.
Do you know what? I actually have the perfect name. It's Logan Paul.
Oh, one more time.
Logan Paul. They have a history with the United States Championship. We've all been saying for ages that at some point Logan Paul will be a world champion. Logan Paul versus LA Knight at WrestleMania 42.
I don't want to see Logan do it, but it's something that I wouldn't rule out WWE doing.
It's also a match that you don't have to have main event WrestleMania either.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so Seth and Punk get the night 2 main event. The women get the night 1 main event. And somewhere on those 2 nights, Logan Paul versus LA Knight for the WWE Championship. The WWE Championship as well, not even the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship.
Would be massive. To just give you a different name, a different perspective, because I think it'd be massive, and I think I can definitely see what you're seeing and selling to me right now. I could see myself buying it. However, just give a different name. There's going to be a draft somewhere, so I'll say LA Knight versus Gunther for that title at WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, wouldn't be against it. I think there's just some character work that needs to be done with Gunther. Like Gunther's still too tied up with Jay in that World Heavyweight title at the minute, so I'd have to see. I'd want to see chemistry between them two before I sit there and go, yeah, definitely those two at WrestleMania. But like I said, we've seen Logan Paul, we've seen LA Knight, we've seen these two together, we've seen the whole feud over the US title, and if you want someone to win, if you want Logan Paul to win that title, I think LA Knight's probably the best guy to put him over.
If he does, indeed, that would be the way to go. So we're going to say LA Knight is winning the briefcase. I know. I just need a cold shower after this. I mean, it's sparked the point of Logan Paul should now win the WWE Championship. Yeah, it was a dirty moment, but WWE will do it. Yeah, the thing is that we can talk about what we want or we want, but we do talk about what we predict and think will happen a lot of the time as well. So when we speak our minds on things, it's not necessarily what we want, it's what we think. So NXT was Spinky what he thinks, and to be fair, I don't disagree with him. I think at some point Logan Paul does win a world title in WWE, whether people like it or they don't. But Sid says that LA Knight should have won the Money in the Bank in the UK when he was over with the fans. I think he's still over with the fans. I know it's not as much, but the thing is, though, something like this can really spark and ignite it once again. And like we mentioned, if he's a guy to put away John Cena, that would really do something indeed.
Do you know, I'm just thinking about it now because obviously Rumble is in Saudi. If we have a because of the way Sami Zayn's been going at the minute as well, with Karrion Kross trying to basically get him over as a heel, I could also see Sami Zayn versus LA Knight at WrestleMania next year. Like if Sami Zayn stays babyface till Rumble, wins the Rumble in Saudi, gets huge crowd pop, but then between Rumble and Mania turns heel, challenges LA Knight, I think that could be a great WrestleMania match.
I still think that Sammy should actually turn heel in the moment he wins the title because he can't do it. He has to cheat at the end.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, especially if you do it at WrestleMania.
And Jay's the perfect guy.
Jay is the perfect guy, but dude, Jay's not going to hold that title till Mania. You're insane.
No, he won't. I think he holds it to Night of Champions. So just quickly, because we're running away with a 4-match card, 51 minutes, and only 3 matches in, but still,
we've only been 3 in, and we've still got one to do.
We've got a few tangents tonight, but you know what? I hope everyone's enjoying it. I think following this, the reason I don't think Seth wins, like I said, I think he's going to be cost this opportunity. I think initially we'll get ourselves a 6-man tag team match with Bronson, Braun, and Seth against CM Punk, Sammy, and Jay. I think it moves on then to Jay versus Seth naturally at Night of Champions. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the place Seth wins the title and it builds to Seth versus Punk at SummerSlam.
Versus WrestleMania.
They can still do it
anyway.
I'd like Roman to
come
but I don't. But
I don't want them to even having a singles match until it's for a world title in the main event of WrestleMania. That has to be the ultimate destination for them to.
Absolutely. Well, we spoke about the idea of John Cena losing the title to LA Knight, but is that the person you want to see beat John Cena for the title?
Dude, I'd love to see Karrion Kross beat him at this point. Well, I ain't got a Scooby who's going to be the guy to do it.
Genuinely think Cody. I think that, like, it says, who would you like?
It's too easy though for Cody.
I would like Cody to do it. And the reason I'd like Cody to do it is because I want Cody the cheat to do it. So that way you can have perhaps a double turn in the same motion.
Vindication.
Babyface, yeah. Something like that would be quite interesting. But if not, LA Knight, I think does sound quite exciting when I said it. So I would be quite down for that. NXT question quickly, and then we'll go on to the main event of the show and wrap things up. Pierre asking, can I say one thing? I know Mariah May arrived last night in NXT. She's going to have a name change. Imagine the new name, Mariah Ray. I mean, yeah, she's probably going to have a different name because they just said she's here. But your initial reaction to Mariah May showing up in NXT?
Very, very shocked that they brought her in so quickly, like days after her contract was expired. But look, man, I think we said it last week that NXT is lacking stars. And I thought, to be honest, I thought Grace was going up to SmackDown. Apparently Grace is still hanging around for a bit. So having Mariah May and John Grace as equally your top 2 biggest stars in that brand is not a bad thing to have. So yeah, just solid get for WWE, solid get for NXT, and look forward to it. I presume she'd probably go with I don't know. It's going to be Mariah something, isn't it? It might even just be Mariah, probably because obviously May is her middle name and her surname is Mead. So I don't think she'd probably want to use either of them for a gimmick. But I reckon it will be Mariah something.
Yeah, I think Mariah something as well. But I'm quite like the idea of, like you said, just Mariah. It can just work in its own way, you know.
Not Jake something, but
no, definitely not Jake something. I for me, I thought it was the right move for her to go to NXT as well because you've just released Vaquer, Giulia, Roxanne, all to the main roster. Like we said, Jordan Grace expected to go up there as well at some point, if you believe the reports. So, I mean, literally got world-class talent going up to Raw and SmackDown, which is going to fill all those divisions out. Right now, you don't want Mariah May to get lost in the shuffle. It's a new, NXT's a smart audience. They watch everything. They know everyone in every company, so they knew who Mariah May was. Not everyone on the main roster of WWE knows everything about every wrestler that performs in every promotion. Mariah May's still fairly new to the game, but what she's done with AEW, I mean, she was incredible what she did there. She went in, she had the top few of the top
contender with Tony Storm.
Top champion Tony Storm, and won the Owen Hart tournament, won the title in London at their biggest show of the year. Then she went and had like a 6-month title reign, which I thought was okay. I didn't think it was the greatest run, but I thought it was okay. But then she, main evented a show in Australia. I wouldn't say pay-per-view, but then she had a match that should have been evented the pay-per-view, was the best show of Revolution. So, and then her contract ran out, and here she's in WWE. It's a shock to see it so soon, but hey, she's here, and it's good to see her here in WWE. Like you said there a second ago, it was always her goal.
Indeed.
Ray says, do you see Chris Jericho return to WWE when his contract expires? I think he'll have one last match in WWE to retire. Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be any time soon. Chris is the kind of guy that'll be wrestling in his 60s. I reckon he's going to re-sign with AEW. He loves being there at the minute. And then, let's be honest, it's all about money when you get to that age, isn't it? It's not necessarily about winning world titles. It's just obviously signing big money contracts and obviously still keeping yourself relevant. So yeah, I think he'll still be in AEW for the next couple of years. But yeah, he'll go back there and obviously he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at some point as a headliner.
I predict when Jericho, if he returns to WWE, will be Rumble, Chamber, Mania. Mania's last match. I'm done.
Yeah. Good shout.
BFC says Penta, Seth, or LA Knight will win men's Money in the Bank. Let's go on into our final match of the show. It's the tag team match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. This one was sort of built through Saturday night's main event because John Cena and Jey Uso were backstage, the champions together. Him saying that John Cena was going to walk away with the championship, the real last champion. And then this other championship that WWE has will be held by a YouTuber that will really ruin wrestling. Love the little line that was done there. Obviously, Jey Uso had the match then with Logan Paul on Saturday night's main event. John Cena tried to cost Jey Uso the championship, didn't materialize, and we got a return of one Cody Rhodes. Jey Uso retaining the championship. Cody was in the ring, and he set a tag team match here for Money in the Bank. And obviously, at this point, then John Cena and Logan Paul have been together in ring, and John Cena said Logan Paul's not got to pay his dues because he's paying everyone's mortgage. Well, Cody and Jay's, that is, which I thought was a really good line. But yeah, this has been put together anyway. It seems quite rushed here for this show. I like the idea of two world champions in the main event and the idea of Money in the Bank. Possibly, which champion do I cash in on? Maybe with them both laying out in the ring at some point. Think that's something that will happen here. But I feel like we have to just quickly talk about what would be, dare I say, the elephant in the room. John Cena and Logan Paul. Surely this spot was meant for Travis Scott.
Oh, 100%, dude. This was 100% meant for Travis Scott. But, realize that he isn't as hard as he thinks he is. And even though, he can get a cheap shot on a Cody Rhodes and think that he's not going to get a receipt coming and he's quickly ducked out of it. Yeah, see you later, Travis Scott. Chicken. Take it like a man. He's owed a receipt, man. Someone's got to give him that receipt. Did someone get their hands on him at Mania? I don't think they did. No, I think he's just quietly sort of withered away in the back. He's that meme of Homer Simpson backing off into the green hedge? That's Travis Scott for you. He's just backed off into the hedge, never to be seen again. Definitely this was meant for Travis Scott, man. But look, in all fairness, I hate to say it, but I'd prefer Logan Paul in this spot because at least I know it's going to be an entertaining wrestling match.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a better match. There's no two questions about that. I mean, obviously, the Travis Scott thing with WrestleMania Elimination Chamber stuff, it just feels like surely he could have just come and stood on the apron for a long time and just not done a lot. But hey, it is what it is. It's not going to materialize, like you say. The thing is, you said about going to the hedges like Homer Simpson. Can the song theme do that as well, especially if WrestleMania goes back to Vegas next year?
Please, I hope it does. I'm so sick of hearing that song.
It was like I liked it for the first couple of times I heard it, and then all of a sudden, just every second advert, bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like that old argument. Do you know how many people it took to write Bohemian Rhapsody? One. Do you know how many people it took to write Single Ladies by Beyonce? About 17. You tell me which one's the better song.
Absolutely.
That's what Fiend is. Fiend is one song probably written by 17 people. It's so irritating.
I mean, Starting Map was written by one person as well, and that's better than Beyonce's Run the World as well.
It's Beyonce. Beyonce's Single Ladies video was all about the music video. It was never about the song.
That's what it's all about. Absolutely, indeed. We were all young once. But anyway, we go back into the match.
Just completely off topic. That's why Kanye interrupted Taylor at the MTV Awards, because even he knew that music video was better. Anyway, I digress.
There we go. Yeah.
Pop culture reference.
Absolutely. Yeah. From 2009, I think that's
something stupid like that. Yeah.
Oh, good time.
Let's go back to modern times.
It's that moment of the video where, if you're enjoying it, you should hit that like button. Yeah. Anyway, back to the match. So Travis Scott obviously going to win an MTV award later this year, but since the fact he's going to be off doing that, Logan Paul's taking the spot instead. Yeah, like you said, the match is probably going to be a lot better to watch here. But I mean, for me, it makes this result a bit more predictable. I think that Logan Paul is there to take the pinfall.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of opposite against you, because I think that even though they showed some hostility between Logan Paul and John Cena, I actually think that John Cena and Logan Paul win this, because I think this gives Logan Paul a credible opportunity to then challenge Jay for that World Heavyweight Championship. And I think if they win this, like I said, Logan Paul challenging Jay for the World Heavyweight Championship at some point, not necessarily, because I know he's got to face, I think, Gunther next week at, I don't know, something or other, because there's so many pay-per-views coming up. I forget which one it is, but I think it just gives Logan Paul a credible opportunity to challenge Jay. And don't get me wrong, I can see him losing as well, because definitely Logan, if they are losing, Logan Paul is definitely taking the pin, because it's just something for John Cena to turn around and go, "You never pinned me. You pinned that guy that's not a wrestler." But I just think that if you want to try and build more of this John Cena story, and like I said, him using Logan Paul as the same kind of thing, someone who can kill wrestling, I think these two guys win,
It would be interesting. I wouldn't be against seeing it. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Scott turned up in LA. I'm going to say that now, and it's the reason Cena and Logan Paul win. Maybe get a 6-man at Night of Champions. But I'm going to say Logan Paul is pinned, and I think Cody Rhodes is going to be the one to pin him. And I think this is going to set up Cody versus John Cena for Night of Champions instead of SummerSlam, like I predicted probably a couple of months ago.
The only way this could work out is, for instance, if Seth does win Money in the Bank and he cashes in on the main event and somehow challenges Jay or John. I don't know. Probably challenges Jay for that World Heavyweight title. I don't know how it would work, because obviously it being a tag match, and how do you get a screwy finish but then turn it into a singles match for a world title? I don't know. But I find that very hard to believe, that one.
The thing is, there is the argument Seth could win Money in the Bank, by the way, and that Punk and Sammy don't get involved until the main event of the show, because then they know they've got to stop him from cashing it in. But I will say that they'll still stop him from winning the match to begin with, so I haven't got to worry about that argument. But I think there'll be a moment LA Knight's in the ring.
Do you know what? Even thinking about it now, there you just said that, that could be Sammy and Punk's story for the rest of the year. Is if Seth wins that, their goal is purely to stop Seth from cashing in. And that ultimately could lead to Sammy's heel turn. Yeah. There's so much narrative with Sammy at the minute that they can do that. Yeah. I mean, obviously it throws out the window that our predictions for LA Knight, but I think it makes it more plausible that Seth probably does win this.
It's one or the other. It's like we did earlier on, Naomi or Rhea. I'm going for Naomi for the purposes of the video. It's Seth or LA Knight, but I'm going LA Knight for the purposes of the video.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's going to be good either way. But honestly, back to the main event, which I presume it's the main event. I don't know. Cena losing, he doesn't look at the way Cena ain't getting pinned either way. So it's just really the idea on how narrative works going forward for me. And like I said, I think if Cena and Paul win, at least it gives Logan Paul an opportunity to challenge Jay for that world title, which then if Seth did win the Money in the Bank briefcase, Seth could cash in again. That way, then Logan Paul doesn't win the title. Seth cashes in and wins it over Jay. Do you know, there's so many possibilities with it.
Certainly is. So, final pick.
I'm gonna go with Cena and Logan Paul.
Interesting. I'm going with Cody and Jey Uso. I think Cody pins Logan, and I think we set up for Cody versus John Cena, Night of Champions. Let's go around then for our final comments then before we wrap up the video here today. Sid saying that NXT least favorite show to watch right now out of Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and TNA shows. Hey, we all have our preferences.
You're sleeping on NXT, Sid.
Hey, we all have our favorites at the minute. I've got to say at the moment, the shows that I've been watching, I think SmackDown's the hardest watch personally at the moment.
Yes,
but that's
agreed.
Right now. What match you're most looking forward to at Money in the Bank? Women's Money in the Bank ladder match with ease. With ease.
Definitely.
And BFC, I got a feeling the person to take the title of Jey Uso will be El Grande Americano. The person to take the title of Cena, L.A. Knights. What? Tell you what,
would love that.
Either. Would love it. You're not going to top that.
El Grande taking off Jay. That'd be fantastic.
Would be amazing. In fact, to hear that, I would be like, gracias. I'll be very happy. Very happy. And you know what also make me very happy is if people hit the like button. Really would appreciate that. If you share it with a friend as well, subscribe if you're new here. Maybe as well, you could drop a comment after the video is finished as well, just with an extra question maybe you might have that you might want me to answer, or maybe just an extra prediction that you've not shared during us in the comments of the stream. And if you're watching on delay as well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Get involved in the comments below. Let us know your predictions. And Steve, any final words before we wrap up the video?
No, just obviously enjoy the show. Hopefully there's so much going on in a minute. Hopefully we can do a review next week for it and say tune in. If not, follow us on social medias, on TikTok, on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. And there will be a review of this show. Have to pencil in how and where that's going to work out, but we will get that figured for you. And also, like I said, we've got the rewind on the channel right now, Money in the Bank 2018. That's on there right now if you want to go and watch that. And also, Worlds Collide, WWE versus AAA. Our predictions are on the channel as well. Thanks for watching the card.
What else is coming up?
Absolutely.
What else is coming up this week?
We've got the Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, greatest cash-ins of all time. That's a banger of a video, by the way.
That's a great
I've got some shorts from that, just from the content of that. It's a banger of a video. I recommend checking that out. If that's not out tomorrow, it's coming out on Friday for sure. So yeah, check it out. Check it out. Look up the steps on each other. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the next one.